All right, everybody, welcome back to Brown and Browner. We're in the middle of July and a nice little heat wave out, I think, across the country. And I'm in Canadian smoke here out east, which makes it even more interesting. Lawn mow.
We've got the same here. You step out your door and it looks like the morning fog, but that's not the morning fog, guys. That's nothing but the smoke coming from Canada. And then from the way they said it on TV, it wasn't that it was coming straight down from Canada, at least here to the Midwest. It was going around the Great Lakes and coming from the east to get to us. So,
which is crazy. But no, everybody take care in the heat, take care in the smoke. But you know what? We got sports still on our agenda because you know what? The World Cup's still going on. We got the British Open. We got all sorts of stuff to do. But I mean, we'll tee it right off with the big story of the week, the World Cup. I mean, the two biggest games just finished in the semifinals. Was I pleased by the outcomes? No. I feel like there's some discussion to be had in terms of not just the quality of play, the refereeing, some of the political theater behind the scenes, and everything else going on in these elimination rounds.
FIFA should be ashamed of this. We were talking about smoke. There was some smoke up in this whole World Cup. There was some great play, but as you mentioned, we both coach soccer, youth soccer. So we got a little bit more of an understanding and appreciation for the sport than many others. And I can tell you, Argentina shouldn't even been there to play in the semifinals because Egypt would have won that game if they go up 3-0 off of that crappy call. There was some favoritism. There were some calls that just didn't seem to be equal on both sides. Egypt game is a big example of that. One time they call it and take a goal away. The same thing happens for Argentina. They don't even review it to make the call. That's inconsistent and it's unfair. The red cards that are being given out and taken away. How the hell can a president, FIFA, if you want to have some integrity, actually enforce certain rules? One, this is a sport. It's not politics. No president, no king, no anybody should be able to contact the president of your organization directly and have any influence whatsoever. That's ridiculous.
Well, to me, if FIFA's whole premise, and I'm going to say that they are a cutthroat organization, as we've indicated, if their entire premise is to somehow anoint, Lionel Messi and Argentina as the kings of the sport, all you've done is tarnish the sport by trying to anoint them in the most fake way possible, in my opinion. I'll be very blunt. You're going to ruin Leo Messi's career and his legacy by simply paving a path or calling favorable calls and all this other drama and theatrics that we believe are going on. Because honestly, the field of play, based on our experience of coaching youth soccer and everything else, and granted, there might be a limited subset to some people looking here, but we understand the game. We understand where weakness and the strengths are. If you talk to me 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago when the elimination round started, and I tell you who the 2 strongest or 3 strongest teams are in the field, Argentina is not one of them by any means at all. It's France, it's Spain, it's England to me, those 3 teams. And when you look at the quality of play for what Argentina had against Cabo Verde, Cabo could have easily won that game, but I will say that Argentina won that game relatively fair. There were some great saves, obviously, by Bozinha and everything else, but Argentina scored in the right moments and fine, it happened. In the Egypt game, that was just egregious and uncalled for. That's what really put it over the edge for me. Egypt could have been up 3-0 with like 83 minutes left to play, give or take. And that puts a game away, in my opinion, because then you drop back 10 and, it's all over.
I'm taking all of the players, all 10 players are going to be playing in the damn box. I don't even want to go to midfield. And I'll waste enough time by getting the ball, turnovers, kicking it out to where you would have just taken all of the will and fight out of Argentina.
So
people who have said, I've talked to quite a few people, oh, well, it might have been 3-3 because if they would have gotten that goal. No, Argentina doesn't score those goals now.
Nope.
Totally different game.
No. Mo Salah and them got slighted. And like you just pointed out, on one end, you go back and review a call that took place 95 yards down the field.
Way back there. After the goal.
The other one, you don't do it at all just because it's Argentina or whatever the hell the ref might have thought or whatever it is. And I'm sorry, but even if you don't want to blame FIFA, blame the refs and VAR. It's flawed. It's as simple as that.
It is flawed.
The refs are are the lowest quality, I feel like, in the elimination rounds across all games, not just that game, but a lot of these games. It's just looking pathetic. It's uneven calling. And VAR is a system that is flawed, in my opinion. It was built on the premise of reviewing goals, like as in if they cross the line, stuff.
Yeah,
like
if they cross the line and offsides.
Yeah, and offsides.
Actually
and
legit too.
now the offsides rule, I have a big beef with because we're talking,
Yeah.
Croatia is all I'm going to say is the word Croatia. And everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when you say it's a big toe or somebody's dick hung over the line, this isn't for kids. Then that's ridiculous. Let's come up with a reasonable offside rule, because that didn't really influence anything. And they've changed the rule to some degree because, for instance, when Argentina scored that first goal, when Messi passed, forget to which guy, he put it in the net. But if you look at the replay, there was a guy offside, but they've changed that rule because the guy who was offsides didn't influence the play, which I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. But when you got a break and you're shoulder to shoulder with a guy and your pinky's over his shoulder and you're saying he's offsides, that's just ridiculous.
To me, the rule should be
taking
full
away
body.
from the spirit of the game.
Yeah, to me, it should be full body or half body length is required. Simple as
half
that.
Body, half body would make sense because that's a true advantage.
If the rumor's true that somehow England was granted a WADA exception for drug usage to get used to altitude conditions in Mexico, apparently, and I think this is true because I looked it up, they were allowed to take vasodilators, which in essence are erection
pills. That's an illegal drug. Right.
I'm sorry, were they walking around with hard-ons and probably crossing the line? Yeah, probably, at the end of the day. Facts are facts. But needless to say, the rules need to be changed for VAR to where it's more open to the field of play and what's taking place in the field. If a guy beats a man, he beats a man. I don't care if it's by an inch or a mile. If he beats a man, he should be given the credit for it. And that's where I feel like a lot of teams have gotten shafted on these playoffs, particularly in elimination rounds, if not for Croatia during other rounds and stuff like that. So I think that needs to change.
Well, and I think one thing I would disagree with you. I don't think Messi's legacy will be tarnished by this, but I tell you the perception. There's so many people I've talked to who don't even want Argentina to win just because of what they've been saying throughout this tournament. Yeah,
the world's against it. If you look at an overall online poll, the world's against Argentina winning, which at the end of the day, it's like you're handing them a trophy versus them earning it. And that's the reason I say it's going to tarnish his legacy. It's like, oh, he got 2 cups, but
one of them was given to him, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The greats in the sport, in any sport, are not handed stuff. Tom Brady's not handed stuff. Michael Jordan's not handed stuff. You're not handed stuff. So if he wants to be known as
to win,
and again, we've had this debate, I think, last week, where Pele, still the king of the sport, I think. Messi's obviously up there. But to me, now you've got a little bit of a controversy there building because of FIFA. And instead of letting the field of play, where Messi has obviously showcased his talent for 20 plus years and been an influence to the world. I get it. But now you're going to say he got 2 cups. Oh, but his second cup really doesn't count. Like that's the conversation you're going to have 30 years from now. So
and something smells there. And to be frank, in any sport, you hate to see a referee actually, influence the outcome of the game. The game should be played by the players and the athletes and be coached by the coaches and happen on the pitch or the court or whatever you're playing on. That's what should determine the play or determine the winner. And the other thing that I've seen in within the World Cup, which is something you see in all other sports, but I feel like there needs to be some kind of balance there, or Libra, whatever you want to call it. If I come from behind and I push you off the ball, literally push you down to the ground and take the ball, it's called a foul sometimes, but it's not called a foul other times.
Did you see yesterday?
Explain to me how that works. That is what you did directly influenced my ability to move the ball around or have possession of the ball. And yet I saw one guy literally come from the back of another guy, push him in the back,
take his jersey
down. He's on the ground. They take the ball. Referee says nothing. Then you go back the other way, and it looks like the guy sort of dives a little bit. Nobody even touches him, and you're calling a foul. Matter of fact, another thing that I wanted to bring up, who was that team? I think it was Denmark. Was it Denmark or maybe Denmark? The Netherlands. There you go. Where they were winning. And I blame the player because the player did what I hate in soccer is the flop. He wasn't even touched, and the replay showed that. But because they went back to the replay, if the referee would have called the right call, even if he would have just called the foul, even if it was wrong, that guy would have never been kicked out. But because they went back to VAR and then they reviewed it and determined that he flopped, and then all of a sudden he got a second yellow-red card, which means yellow card, and he got a red card as a result. He was out of the game. Doom them for the rest of the game. blame the referee in not
Yeah.
calling right at the point of contact.
Yeah.
But I blame that player because you are winning the game.
Yeah.
Why are you flopping? But to
Yeah.
me, this also shines a light on one of the things that I think not why, but one of the reasons why soccer isn't as accepted here in America is because if everybody's always diving on the floor, and I get it, they're some of the best athletes in the world, but if somebody touches you and you fall like you got hit by Mike Tyson, I get tired of watching that. It's like watching Bill Laimbeer in the 90s doing all of his flopping and crap. You know, you get tired of it, or in the late 80s, 90s.
Why do you think interest in the NBA is a little bit down?
And I was just about to point that out. Is one of the things that many fans and even some of the commentators have talked about is the fact that the flopping has taken over the NBA, and it makes it harder on the referee to not call something because somebody looks like they just got shot. But at the same time, players, let's stop this. This is a man's game. All of these games we're talking about, these are grown people games, men and women. Well, let's play the game.
Let's look at the higher quality players. Look at the higher quality players in the World Cup. They're not the ones flopping. It's the media. Like I don't. Let me pause there, because you get the guys like the Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, I'm going to call that one out because that one's a big flopper, I think, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen. Neymar is 100% the drama queen. He's the king of drama. Yeah.
Neymar to me helped to ruin the sport. Not ruin, but taint the sport because of all this flopping. And it seems like more players have adopted that whole thing of let me roll on the ground 15 times.
That's what pisses me off. They're taught to flop. And this happens in basketball camp too. And that's what I'm like, this is not sports. This is go work in theater, go work in drama, go work in Hollywood. I don't care for your antics at the end of the day.
Go watch some of the 90s films or the 80s films or the 70s films of any sport. Pick any sport. Which sport. They played and they got hit, they got scratched, they got all of these things, but they didn't stop and didn't cry and look at the ref. They just kept playing.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. That's where and that's where, like you said, some of the less interest or the decreased interest in soccer in this country, I think that's where it does stem from to some degree. That said, if you look at the World Cup, let's get kind of a little bit back to the games here. So let's start with the first one on Tuesday, France and Spain. Again, you and I have coached soccer. We see where the momentum, the strengths and weaknesses are. If you ask me again a week ago, 2 weeks ago, who's the favorite to win this? It's France, without a question.
Everybody thought France was going to win. And you'll see it if you look back at our when this World Cup started. What was the team that I picked?
It was all France, exactly. Yep.
No.
Sorry,
I picked Spain.
You picked Spain.
I picked Spain.
You picked Spain. I picked France. Yeah. And frankly, Spain is solid. There's no question, and I don't doubt that one bit. France, I feel like, just didn't even show up for that game.
Not at all. You said it, and I have to give Spain credit for that. With Mbappe and Dikembe and all of these guys, and France looked like by far the favorite, like they should win it.
Yeah.
But Spain put it to them right away. They took out the idea of them building that momentum, and they never got it. Even towards the end, I do have to blame one of the France players because Mbappe was right there. They had the ball, and instead of passing it to him, he screwed up. But Spain took it to them and took the heart out of them.
There were two things to the game. Spain, we knew, had a solid defense, and they showed up and they stymied France's offense to every degree possible.
Yes.
France, on the other hand, their coach, Didier Deschamps, former player and strategist, decided to play a two-man midfield, which didn't make any sense against a formidable defense that's keeping a wall out there.
Right.
The game plan did not line up for France, and they had all the firepower on the field. I mean,
they have all the firepower.
Yeah, like defensively, they got so much talent on the field, but they just didn't execute well. And frankly, Spain showed up in its brand as it did in 2010, like playing solid defense, looking for the opportunities. And honestly, the Olazabal and Yamin Lamal and that crew.
Got to give Olazabal all the credit.
Yeah.
Yamal, you give him credit because honestly, he immediately changed the game because instead of sitting back, he went and charged the ball. So when that guy, hit it off his chest and he didn't really control the ball, he took his time about it. He ended up kicking him in the side. That's an instant penalty, 1-0, and that changes the game.
Almost a veteran move in that sense for a young kid.
Yes.
So
and there is this 19-year-old kid playing like that. You got to give him credit.
I thought for sure walking into the game, after I saw the comments, I think it was Sunday or Monday, and they were interviewing Yamal, and Yamal's like, yeah, we're the team to beat. And he basically called it out and said, yeah, France is going to have to be looking out for us. And boy backed it up. I mean, this is like the Wemby, effect. This guy got game.
He does have game, and conversely, the player of the World Cup, forget all of the Messi hype and Messi. I sort of got tired of that. Mbappe had as many goals. He was carrying his team. Dikembe, another one, scoring goals, helping to carry the team, disappeared.
Dembele was not even existent in this game. Like, basically, he got wiped off the face of the earth when
he got 0 shots on goal and ended up with a yellow card. This is your star player in the biggest moment. And we're going to talk about England because I have a star player
we'll get there,
who seemed to disappear as well. But I hate that Mbappe had to go out like that, and he's being criticized now for not showing up. You know what? It's hard to be great all the time, but Mbappe did not put his fingerprint on this game in any way, and that's a shame, because when you're a player of his quality, every game that you're in, you should be able to put a fingerprint on it, or imprint in some way, and influence it in some way.
If you've watched France close enough, he and Dembele both, unlike Argentina, this is where I'll give Argentina some credit. Those guys don't drop back on defense as much when it comes to defending the ball. Versus if you see Messi and the guys on the offense on Argentina, they truly drop back and get the ball off the defense and then work their way up. So I kind of akin Mbappe almost like a cherry picker in a way. That's why he's so well set up, and obviously he's physically gifted beyond measure. There is no question. But that's where I kind of give a little bit of flack to him in this game, where he should have seen that early on after that first goal from Spain, been like, all right, I need to drop back, get the ball, and work my way up the field, find Dembele, find all the other guys that are on the field, versus expect him to get the ball from someone when they're not doing their job.
Who does that sound like?
I mean, you tell me right now. I know exactly where you're thinking.
It sounds like Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, exactly.
That's what
exactly
it sounds
what
like.
it is.
And he did the same exact team thing, and you can see how it influenced the team. I have to apologize because I'm black, and instead of me saying Dembele, I was saying Dikembe Mutombo, because every time I see the name, that's the first thing that pops in my mind. And then Dembe from the one with Slater, what was the name of the show? But I have to say, as much as we want to criticize one team or one player, you got to give credit to Spain. They started off this World Cup, the first game, they looked horrible, and everybody was saying Spain doesn't look great and blah, blah, blah. But look at how they played. And
they play a methodical brand of soccer, and it works.
Yes, they do. But they still attack, and they still show that they can actually produce goals. They're not doing the old Italy, where Italy would try to score one goal, and then all of a sudden all 10 players are to the back. You never even see them get to mid-pitch, and it was the boringest game you ever watched.
If they ever do a documentary on like the demise of certain dynasties in soccer, Italy, I mean, right after Baggio went away, everything fell back on the defense. Neymar came and became the theatrics of Brazil, and it ruined their entire fluidity of their game. I can name every country's got a pinpoint.
Totally. Brazil, think about that. Brazil, when you think of Brazil, you think of Pele. You think of soccer. They are supposed to be the guys who come out and show
Ronaldinho was
play the beautiful game. And they don't.
Ronaldo and Ronaldinho were attack machines.
Yes. And now you got this guy, and look at what's happened to their soccer program. It's just bad. You know what? And I think this is a good transition to the next game that we saw, which I feel so bad for England. They have this thing where they don't perform well when they play Argentina, whether it's luck or performance, it just never goes their way.
This is where I'm going to defend them. If you watch the early onset of the game yesterday, particularly all the way through the first half, they brought a physical brand of play to the game immediately, and they started talking, they started pushing, and I love that, because they really took it to Argentina and forced the issue. And I don't know whether they couldn't sustain it in the second half, or they had some calls go against them here and there, and I get it. And Argentina got some momentum, and then that's kind of what happened. But had they continued that brand of football through the second half, they could have got this game, honestly.
Okay, so you're defending them in that way. I'm going to go the opposite way. I cannot defend them because it clearly showed they dropped the defenders, they put the defenders in, they dropped back because they were up a goal.
That they failed at.
The way you win is how you got there. If you're winning because of you're playing a certain brand, stop playing brand and just pack it in.
Yep.
That's why you lose.
Yeah, no,
As
they played
many
too
teams during
conservative
this
in the
World
second
Cup.
half where they just wussed out. And
Yeah.
even the worst part was when Argentina got its goals, nobody fell back on defense. They like the British literally were sitting out there just staring, like, oh, okay, this is what's happening.
Well, and Argentina
Leo
could have
Messi
scored a
was
few
right,
other
but
goals.
no.
You know what, though? Their goalie actually kept them in the game.
Oh, yeah.
There were a couple of other
Pickford
goals they
was
could have
awesome.
scored.
I have to give Pickford a lot of credit.
Yeah, and here's what I don't quite understand. You're packing it in, but yet they get easy shots on goal like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Harry Kane, who?
That header was wide, like that was the most open wide header I've ever seen. First off,
yes,
you're forcing Messi to the opposite side of his foot, his right foot, which is his weaker foot. You're getting a nice clean feed from him, which makes no sense.
And there was nobody
blocking out.
And the guy who headed it in was already boxing the player behind him, so he had a clear view to the ball.
Yep.
And there's literally nobody there.
Yep.
Nobody there.
It was pathetic defense. Now, English beat themselves this game versus Argentina winning the game, in my opinion, in the second half. I mean, they brought it, like I said, at the beginning of the game, where it was physical, a lot of rough calls and stuff like that. But it was the perfect brand of football to put Argentina on its edge. Having watched them against Cabo and Egypt were just offensive teams. They wanted to come out, try to score stuff like Cabo. Obviously, its goalkeeper was doing his job. Egypt, offensively, they were a machine. They were just piling it on. Fast break. They were making it happen. Argentina needed pressure put up against them, and England started with that, but then it just went away in the second half, and that's what opened up the game, honestly.
Yeah, and the other thing I didn't understand, and I think in any situation when you're playing a team sport, you need people to step up, regardless of how many superstars you have. You need other players, role players to step up. But I have to say that, quite frankly, Bellingham was the best player for England this entire World Cup. Yep. That shouldn't be said. Harry Kane, just like I was saying about Mbappe, you're supposed to put your imprint on the game. You're supposed to have an influence in the game. Did he?
You have the rarity. 2-3 games? I think there's maybe a handful of teams, and maybe only the teams that are in the semifinals, that literally have two guys that could be weapons in the offense. And France had theirs, Spain's got theirs, England's got theirs. Those are the three that I can name off. Argentina's obviously got a set, but I mean, those are the top three. And when two of those guys can't even show up, Kane and Bellingham, you're cooked. And I think they fell apart. I think Bellingham fell into a trap a little bit because he got into, you saw all the skirmishes he got into, the pushing, the shoving, and all that. Yes. Then at the end of the game, that whole theatric or whatever. I think the guy somebody got to his head a little bit. That was the problem.
I agree with that to some degree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But one of the things I don't like, and that I'm seeing too much in soccer, is the consistency of calls.
Yeah.
The reason people get in your head, it's one thing back when Dennis Rodman and the Pistons were able to do it because they bully balled, and then they sort of outlawed that play in the NBA, right? Yep. Soccer needs to do something about that, because if you look at the Argentinian players, it was like they were trying to goad them into it. They were constantly fouling but weren't getting calls. And the more you know how that is in sports. Yep. If you're able to get away with something, you're going to do more. If you keep getting away with it and don't get called for something, you're bound to go push it to the edge of the table and then try to hit the envelope off the table to make sure that the referee either is calling the game or has already lost control of the game.
And we say this about tennis. Tennis is 80% mental, 20% physical, or something, something to that line. I mean, and frankly, all sports are becoming a little bit more mental and psychological in that sense, because your physical play is equivalent so much at that top tier, obviously. And there's a little bit of a head game there, where Argentina decided to say, okay, yeah, go ahead. We'll start fouling you guys, foul us, and we're going to get in your heads. And if you noticed, even the times that, let's say, Argentinian player got fouled or an England player got fouled, the English team would just surround the ref and pressure them into calling something or whatever. And I'm like, if you're just playing for that, you have no strategy to win the game. Yep.
If you're always whining to the ref, you're expecting the ref to help you as opposed to you helping yourself.
Right.
And I do agree that, one of the things I think people don't realize is, these professionals are the top 0.5%, 1% of all players playing that sport. So even though you might have some that are, able to distinguish themselves, for the most part, all of them are on this level or this level.
Yep.
So what is the distinguishing characteristic? It's more mental than physical, and it's all about heart and grit. What do you want? Do you want it bad enough? Are you willing to make the sacrifice? How hard? That's what the whole point of playing these games. Forget the paper and how a team looks.
And that's the credit to Leo Messi there. I mean, look at how that guy does off the ball with his team, positioning themselves, setting up his other guys. I mean, That's called a consummate team player, and that's why he is who he is.
Well,
that
to me is the difference, and I've argued because my wife loves
Yeah.
Ronaldo, but that's my argument. You
Oh,
know, I
100%.
don't know about the Messi being the best ever, but as far as right now, he is the best
He's the
player
best.
because look at the team he has, look at what he's doing, and that game and many of the other games, they've been losing. They've been down like almost the last 3-4 games, and yet they're able to come back. And even if Messi isn't scoring, he's contributing to it. He would put a perfect pass on that guy's head. He put a pass to a guy who had a space to be able to hit the shot from long range against the goalie. Some of the other star players can't see that far because they're too busy, in this zone about them, as opposed to understanding how they can influence a game beyond just being the one controlling the ball.
Hey, LeBron James, you want to go take a picture out of this? Seriously. I mean, think about the talent that was around him with the Lakers. Couldn't make it work, obviously, but hey, whatever. I mean, that's the difference between greatness and good. I mean, that's the separator right there. Absolutely. The guys that are the best and the best of the best are the ones that make themselves better for everyone else around them. The Steve Kerrs and everybody else that benefited from the Jordans, all that. Absolutely. Tom Brady, Gronk. I mean, just look at the pedigree of things around you in those team sports. It's as simple as that. But that said,
and wait, just before we finish, I have to give LeBron credit, and this is probably to his detriment as well. LeBron was always a deferrer.
True.
He wasn't the one who said, give me the ball. If you all the names that you mentioned, even with Messi, when the time comes.
Oh, yeah, he wants it.
Yeah, because they know they're going to perform at this level and be able to be successful versus deferring to somebody else, hoping that they will be successful.
True.
So there's a time for deference, and there's a time for being aggressive and taking control. And I think that's where LeBron fails.
Yep, that knowledge and skill set is obviously the separator. Now that said, better or worse, we've got Argentina and Spain in the finals, and you've already, I think, got the pick of Spain potentially.
I got Spain. I had Spain the whole time.
I'm favoring Spain on paper and everything else in the way they're playing. Could there be a conspiracy that somehow Argentina pulls this off? Yeah, maybe. Maybe everybody wants that little baby picture of him and Yamal to come true and all that stuff.
Which was sort of cool. I don't know
how
that happens, though. Isn't that a little strange coincidence that
Messi weird
is holding Yamal when he's a little baby? How would you know that this little baby was going to turn into a player of his caliber?
It's as if like Jordan was holding Kobe when back in the day. Like, it doesn't happen.
Exactly. It's like, wow, that's just so weird. And what a coincidence that this player that you held in your hand is now playing against you in the World Cup final.
Yep. So, like I said, we'll see. I think we're in for a great game overall. I think there'll be a lot of it'll be close, but I have Spain winning at this point because of the way they're playing right now. It's just a solid team. And I say that team in team essence. Granted, Argentina's shown that with their comeback wins. I get it. But at some point, luck runs out. Let's face facts.
You can't always come from behind. Hello, Chicago Bears of the 2025 season that had some miracles all year long, but the miracles ran out in the playoffs. You just can't always depend on being able to come back. You have to sometimes establish that you're the dominant team and try to push the team down as opposed to hoping that you can come back. And Argentina won't be successful.
So here's a good one for you. What's the worst failure in Atlanta right now between what happened with the Falcons 28-3, Egypt 2-0, and now England 1-0.
Regardless of what happened in soccer, and I was talking about this with my son because we had talked about how England packed it in and how sometimes that is the right strategy depending on the timing, etc. But you got to play to win, not play not to lose.
Yeah,
and that's what England did. Egypt, that was just, I think they were robbed.
They were robbed.
But at the end of the day, if you're up, like Atlanta was up in the biggest game of the season, and you're sitting there passing the ball instead of running the ball. That's the biggest one. It still would be the biggest failure. Yeah, that's on you. You failed. And the funny thing is, there's a fine line, right? We were just talking about it. When do you pack it in, or why aren't you staying aggressive and playing the game that got you that lead? You got to find the right balance there.
Yep.
Obviously, neither one of those three teams. Well, Egypt, I'll take out of that equation.
Egypt out of that equation because honestly, they got robbed. Simple. Yeah.
But England and the Atlanta Falcons both of them did the wrong. They should have probably done the opposite, and they both would have won.
I mean, the biggest failure in English history next to 1776. What can you say?
Well, and you know what's sad about England is they've got this huge monkey on their back,
There's an
60
order on it,
years, and they're supposed. I mean, what is one of the best club leagues in the world? The English Premier League. But they don't seem to have that translate to their actual national team. And they haven't, even with Rooney, even with all of these players they've had in the past, they have not been successful on the World Cup stage.
Well, and I'll give the fun controversial take that I think is floating around, Instagram and everything else. Like the amount of teams, including France, by the way, that have players that are not what you would consider truly native to the country per se, because they're all immigrants, right?
Hey, wait, hold up. That's every team that I saw that had a black person. Even Germany had a black person.
Oh, they had more than just one. They had like 5,
they have a whole team full of black people. It's like, okay, how many black people actually exist in your country?
There was a thing on Instagram I saw. I'll see if I can dig it up at some point. But France, just with their starting 11, 9 could hail citizenship from any other country in different flags.
Yes. Well, and there were stories. What was the one story about the goalie who was on the one team who didn't get a chance to play? I think it was for France, and they ended up playing on a different team. I mean, that happens quite a bit. Yeah,
it's Zidane's son.
It's Zidane's son. That's right. That's right. Who was a head case? No pun intended. So that happens quite a bit. You see it in tennis too. Certain players playing for a different country because they can versus being shut out at the country they want to play for, their native countries.
I mean, dare I say half of the, and we'll transition into tennis here in a second too, but look at the women's players in the United States. A majority of them are foreign nationals who came here to play college and then adopted American citizenship, basically. And they're playing for America. So, I mean, and you can tell that from the last name. I'll be stereotypical about it, but it is what it is,
It's true. Hey, Mbappe, does that sound French to you?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm sorry. Just all of their, and you see it across the landscape of sport.
Full Aaron Balogun. I mean, since when was a Nigerian national play for the United States? No.
But you know what? I'm not knocking them for that. No. But I did notice it. My family noticed it as we were watching the games. It's like, wow, there's a lot of black people in countries that definitely don't make you think black.
There's a comedian, Godfrey. He's Nigerian. He's hilarious.
Oh, Godfrey is hilarious. I saw something on with him earlier today.
He even pointed out, so he said, all these countries are doing it in the World Cup. They're just finding their best black people and saying, I'm going to take you black 5 against these black 5. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest bit ever.
That's hilarious. And actually, Godfrey, he's from Chicago. My brother grew up with him and knows him, Gordon Tech High School. So yeah, Godfrey was hilarious.
One of the most hilarious comics out there.
My God. And then he does this little skit on the side. Not everybody might appreciate it, but I do, where he says, don't mess with black people. And it shows these instances where people are being like absolutely racist and disrespectful. And the person that's taking it, they're like, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. And it got to that point that broke the camel's back, and then all hell broke loose.
I love it.
I love him. He's hilarious. I've seen him at concert once. He's pretty funny.
No, that'd be a good catch, good acted catch. Now that said, transitioning a little bit to tennis, so Wimbledon just ended, obviously. Great to see the double-headed Czechia, I should say more appropriately. Czechia women's final was pretty cool to watch.
You know what? I'm not a Czech, obviously. I can cash a check and write a check, but I'm definitely not a Czech. But I thought that was such a wonderful moment for their country, for these two ladies to represent their country. First time ever in the final, same two contestants from the same country, a Czech country. And quite frankly, the youngster played her butt off the entire tournament. She went through everybody. And I thought Muchova was going to win, or Muhova was going to win. And I thought she was so funny and gracious in losing when she, after the thing, she said, my former friend. Thought that was great. But who was it? Nokrova? she played her butt off. She was
Yes.
solid. She almost did the Sabalenka though.
Yeah,
Did you see that second set? That
Yeah.
second set, she almost fell up.
Yeah.
She lost the set, and I thought she was going to fall
I
apart.
sat
But
there.
she recovered.
Match point. She's going to fall apart.
She had 5 match points. 5. How do you blow 5 match points?
The moment got to her. I mean, it was her first time in that atmosphere, so I don't blame her. Mahoba's been there, and obviously she didn't do as well. But I mean, the cool tradition I like is of all the Czech tennis females that have come historically. Novichilova, Novotná. I mean, now you got these two. I mean, there's a
Novotná was good.
I used to teach at a summer camp at Kansas State University, and they had a pipeline, literally a pipeline of Czech women's players coming in for their Division I program. And they were all tremendous players. And I mean, there's just like a breeding ground of great tennis players from that country. So this was props to the country, props for them to showcase some of their talent there.
Yes. And actually, there was a wonderful Wimbledon tournament. I do have to say that American tennis, to me, is really suffering right now. We have way too many contestants in tennis, both on the men's and women's side, that aren't even making the quarterfinals of tournaments.
And there's a lack of, I don't even want to call it greatness, but, and yeah, we've had, we've obviously got a high benchmark based on the 80s, 90s, and everything before that. I get it. I still chalk it up to the lack of development in this country compared to Europe. There's a different style of tennis that's taught there versus here. It's not even style. It's the mentality and the competitiveness that's lost in this country, because here I feel like we've also got, and this has happened in soccer too, I think it's become something of a money-making scheme, unfortunately, at the youth levels. And that's your biggest problem versus actual true development. In Europe, when you grow up young, whether it's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old in tennis, not only are you just learning the basics of hitting and everything else, you play clubs. You travel and play clubs in your city, in your state, in your country, everywhere else on a week-in, week-out basis. And that builds your character, your ability to play, your strategic mind, and everything else at a very young age. Here, we coddle tennis players. And I'm involved in it because I teach youth tennis on the side here. And we sit here and feed balls by hand until they're 8. Instead of teaching them the game and making them force themselves around a court, despite them not even having physical talent or not to hit the ball over the net, but at least they learn the strategy and the atmosphere so that by the time they can physically do that, they're ready to go. We're behind the curve when it comes to competitive tennis. Even the guys that are at the top of their game and the women that are top of their game here, they're nowhere near the strategy and the mind building you saw on Venus, Serena, Agassi, Sampras, everybody else that grew up. It's a completely different mindset.
I agree with that, and I know, who is it? Bella Terry.
Bella Terry Academy is famous for this.
Yeah,
but they changed their mindset too.
Yeah, and I have to say, what you said is spot on with the way we coddle players. We don't make them tough. No. We don't give them.
We don't let them lose
that support from a mental perspective.
At a young age. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah, and the other thing is, with America, which it always is, it's like they try to create a brand out of these players versus creating a great player that then is able to support branding when they get to be a little bit older. I 100% agree with you. I feel like we haven't truly developed the right kind of teaching methods to get players to that point. They need to have that grit and resolve and know how to fight through things. And I don't feel like they're learning any of those things.
When you and I have talked about this, you have to own something in a weapon on a field of sport. And for everyone that we knew growing up, everybody owned something. Pete Sampras owned a serve. Andre Agassi owned his return. Jim Courier owned his return. The women's game, Serena and Venus owned their serves and physical play. Monica Seles was a hell of a baseline.
Monica Seles,
owned a backhand. Arisa Sanchez-Vicario owned a forehand. And
wow. I love that.
Gabriella Sabatini owned the
Gabriella Sabatini.
I'll go all over the place, but they all owned a brand because they owned a physical craft on the court. I can't say that for anyone in this current generation of tennis players, men or women. Ben Shelton might own a serve, but you know what? It's not enough for him to win a match. Seriously, he can't, because he's got the physical tools to do it, but he can't ever use it as a weapon to dominate a match, and that's his problem. And maybe his dad recognized that as coach, good guy, but they haven't figured it out yet. Physically, Coco Gauff has a mental yips. Seriously, she has the.
She really does.
Mental yips.
I totally agree, and same with Fritz.
Yeah. Taylor Fritz to me is a country club player. I hate to say it, but he might be a number 4 guy in the world. But with a name like Taylor Fritz and his old game, he's a country club player to me. He doesn't own anything on a court to me.
I don't disagree.
John Isner owned a serve. But that's
Yes,
all
he
he
did.
knows. That's
That
why
was the only thing he had. Yeah, after the serve, he was done. It was like a person who could drive the
Yeah.
ball
He was
340
the
yards
guy,
but couldn't hit an iron shot.
he was the American Goran Ivanisevic, but he couldn't do what Ivanisevic did. Ivanisevic did it with 50 aces, 50 double faults in a match, but he won Wimbledon.
Got to give him credit for that. But I totally agree with you. And I think American tennis will continue to be
flounder. Yeah, it'll
subpar.
Yeah.
When you look at these major tournaments, I don't care if you win like, the California Open. I don't care if you win some podunk tournament. The 4 tournaments, the 4 majors that are out there, you got to show up during those majors. And I'm not talking about just making like hoping you make the quarterfinals. When you have so many players entering a tournament and none of them make the quarterfinals,
that tells me that you got a mediocre playing field and a mediocre teaching ability. Exactly. Yeah. You got to have at least 1 or 2 elites that are beating up each other week in, week out to get better and better. It's not happening.
It's not happening. And just the sheer numbers show that we are lacking. And I don't see that getting any better. I don't see anybody coming up who really is making a difference to where I think, ooh, that person might be able to break down that wall that seems to be, stopping us from being successful in major tournaments in tennis.
Yeah. So no, the creativity is lacking there. Now, going over to the men's side, you saw the final, Sinner. I kind of knew that Sinner was going to win after he beat Djokovic. It was kind of a given in that sense because Zverev,
he beat Djokovic. That was sound 3-set bam.
Yeah, he basically just put him away and no questions asked. And Djokovic played okay coming in, obviously, and he is what he is. Zverev, like we've said here before, I respect the fact that he won the French Open, but it's because nobody else was there, I hate to say, and this kind of proved it. Yes, he did take the first set in the final off of Sinner, but after that, it was a smoke show.
I was going to say, after that, he had no chance. And what you said is exactly right. I'm so happy for him that he was able to do that. Because imagine if he didn't win the French Open.
Oh, yeah.
And what the things that would have been said and how his confidence would have been, fractured because you couldn't win a tournament when the clearly two best tennis players, like they're here and everybody else is down here.
Yeah.
And they're not there and you couldn't win. So I give him credit for winning the French.
Yeah.
I give him credit for making the finals after winning the French. You know how it is, especially to achieve a goal that you haven't been able to achieve your entire career, get to that point, achieve it. Then there's usually a letdown. He did not let down. He made the finals of Wimbledon. It just, but back to what you said, I think it just clearly shows. And Alcaraz isn't even there yet. I don't know what his time frame is, but when he comes back, it clearly is going to be just the two of them.
2 or 3 guys, and then the rest of the field. Yeah, exactly.
No Medvedev, no Zverev, none of these other guys. The good Canadian guy, he has no backhand. None of these players could, to me, even give them a real challenge unless they're playing a subpar game that day.
Yeah. Why do you think Joker's still making the semis at age 39? For God's
That's why.
That tells you the drop off in tennis. Honestly, you're telling me that not a single damn American can rise up in the 20s and take over that ascendancy in the top 5 consistently? None. It's pathetic. And that tells you the difference in brand between European play versus what's going on in America right now, I hate to say.
Well, and how do we have players? What is Sheldon ranked? Like in 10, 12, 14?
Sheldon's the top 10 guy. Fritz is top 5, whatever. And then what's his name? Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all points and garbage. To me, they're winning.
They're not winning. They're winning little.
They're winning Key Biscayne and La Jolla Open and
exactly, where nobody's there except them being the top seed of that tournament.
Yeah,
that's to me that means nothing.
I'll give you an example. At the end of the month here, the DC hosts the Mudibala Open, which feeds into the U.S. Open. It's part of the U.S. Open series. Who shows up there? These guys that you just mentioned. They're like the 1 and 2 seeds because guess what? Top dogs, they're resting up. They're getting ready for the Grand Slam. Yeah.
So again, I think all of this is sort of propped up with their seedings. It doesn't represent their true player or competitiveness within the men or the women.
They can't play the top dogs at the end of the day, and that's the thing. And that's where they lack the firepower to even take a set off the guys. Forget the match; they can't even take a set off the top guys. That's what's pathetic.
That is pathetic. And this I think is a good transition into the U.S. Open or a British Open.
British Open of golf.
Actually, we don't even call it the British Open. What is it called? The Championship, the Open.
The Open.
Right. Yeah, because the British Open. It's the Open.
The original. You got to give it credit. It is the original Open, and there's a lot of history there and very cool, nostalgic things. That said, walk it in. Scotty Scheffler's your favorite because he's world number 1, but the man hasn't won, obviously.
Well, and that's why I transitioned. I thought it was a good segue. Unlike what we're seeing in tennis, I feel like the field in golf
Wide open.
is level.
Yeah.
Even with Scotty Scheffler being number one, and actually even with Nelly Korda being number one, both of them missed the cut in their last tournament. And now Scheffler's in the British Open. I think he's like 3 under or 2 under, somewhere tied for 4th or 10th. And I love Hatton. They're showing Hatton right now. You know what? I think we need more Hattons in the PGA because he shows his true emotion. He wears it right here on his sleeve, and some people like it, or some people don't. I love it.
I love all the Irish golfers, like the Irish and the English golfers. You got Hatton, Lowry,
Lowry,
Rory,
yeah. I mean, you like all of them. I like to see emotion. I get it.
I wonder why they wear the Ryder Cup all the time.
Well, and that goes back to how we play as a team, how you play as an individual. I feel like the Europeans just have that in spades against us. And to go across the various sports. We won't even talk about soccer. That's like this. But it shows you that they're able to play in all kind of environments and play well. Americans can play in certain environments and play well. But I think the parity in golf is real now. At first, I was wondering if it was Scheffler, but I think it's actually people are good, and Scheffler needs to step up his game, or he's going to lose the #1 ranking. Which it's hard for me to understand how you're #1 in the world. And don't get me wrong, he's been very consistent.
He's always in the top 10. Always in the top 10.
Consistent, but he's not winning anything.
And that happens, and we've seen that in tennis historically too. You had like the Kafelnikovs and all sorts of stuff in the mid-90s that somehow ranked #1 and all that. So it's a points thing, and I get it. But in golf, to truly be remembered, in my opinion, down the road, 20, 30 years down the road, you have to be that guy that dominated, right? For 5, 10 years. Scotty started that a little bit ago. But now the rest of the field is caught up, and there's a lot of talent on the field. Don't get me wrong. A lot of these guys are awesome. It's not like it's mediocre golf that we're watching on a playing field. We're watching everybody at an elite level, which is pretty cool to see. But now you have that expectation, like, okay, somebody's got to come out of here and be that top dog and be remembered here. And is it his time? Is it someone else's time? That's what we got to see now, basically.
Well, it makes you wonder, does he have the wherewithal and consistency? And I get it. He's earned his #1 spot.
Sure.
He just had Did he just have his second child?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to make a choice. And I remember him saying something to the effect that, like golf is great, but it's not everything.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I think the ones before him thought golf was everything.
Yeah.
And I think that was the difference in their singular focus that helped them be so much better than everyone else.
Woods, take your pick. Yeah. Golf is life, just like soccer. I thought golf is life. Yeah.
And I just wonder if he still has that, because this is a guy who got arrested the morning of one of the tournaments, a major. I think
scary, though. He's still pretty young.
He is still pretty young. And he can get it. But one of the things that I'm seeing that is, I think, a concern is the greats, the real greats, always had putting to back them up.
Yeah.
They could scramble and everything, but they could putt. And he's going through what Tiger Woods went through towards the end of his career, where all of a sudden he can't hit these putts anymore. And I think that's affecting his game, because he's not that far off.
Yeah, that's what's costing it. It's clutch putts. It's maybe 4 or 5 putts every single tournament, every week.
Every round.
Literally.
He's just not making those, and that was the separator. And now he's chasing, so now it's putting a little more pressure on his putting, because now he has to make these putts, and he's just not making them.
That's what makes the Open so cool, because it's a different brand of golf there too, because they're playing some link style golf, in some of these courses, particularly this weekend. You're playing at Birkdale, which is a historic course. And fact of the matter is, I think on Tuesday when they're doing practice rounds, some of these guys were bombing 6 irons for 300 yards because of how dry the conditions are, which is rare for the Open. Typically, it's a rainy, soggy, physical kind of play that you got to drudge through. These guys are running the fairways right now up these streams. It's going to be fun to watch. I haven't had a chance to tune in too much because it started early this morning, but some of these guys are off.
Well, they already had M's out of 66. You got a couple other people, Brown, Dietrich. Dietrich had actually seen his name come up on the board. McIntyre, the lefty. Was he an English lefty or Scottish lefty? Francisco Molinari, remember him and the choke that he did in the tournament, last tournament Tiger Woods won?
No.
So they got the names, but today is just today.
Just a warm up. Yeah, this
means nothing as far as who's going to be there in the end.
I jokingly say this is a warm up for DeChambeau to fall even further because he's at 3 under right now, just like Scheffler.
Well, the funny thing is, day one you don't win a tournament, but you could lose it.
Yep,
you really could lose it. Ask Ernie Els when he's like 5-putted a green, and all of a sudden it was like the first hole or the second hole in one of the tournaments, and he literally was out of the tournament right away.
Yeah.
There was another one who did that, not recently, in the last couple of years. You can lose a tournament on day one, but you can't win it.
Absolutely.
So,
no, I think the field's going to stay close enough on day one. So honestly, there's not going to be that true separator, I don't think, in day one. So there's plenty of room here for people to come back on the second day. But getting used to the course conditions is going to be fun today. And it's going to last through the weekend because there is no rain forecasted for the next 4 days, funny enough.
Wow.
Rare.
When is the last time you heard of the Open or the British Open being played where there's no rain or no crazy winds? The first time that these guys haven't
packed an umbrella in like a decade, probably. Shoot.
That's just so crazy. I remember when Tiger Woods shot an 80 one time, and I think he was leading in the tournament, and he shot an 80.
Yeah, exactly. That's how bad the conditions.
That's Tiger Woods.
Yeah. I mean, typically in the Open, you see like 3 and 4 unders as your final round, final win totals. This is already running up. So this will be interesting to watch. This will be very interesting to watch. But that said, good luck to Scotty. He needs to get the monkey off his back at some point. And it'll be interesting to see whether it's now, the FedEx Cup, everything else that's leading into it over the next month and two. But this is the one opportunity. He's in contention to start day one. He's normally started slow on day ones, if you've noticed, this whole year. And he's picked it up in rounds 2, 3, 4. This is a rare instance where he's up. Let's see if he can keep it up.
I mean, I'm hopeful. I'd like to see him get back to the play that we all sort of appreciated and watched.
Yep.
But he just seems to be struggling a little bit. You're right, though. The fact that he's gotten off to a good start bodes well for him.
Yep.
And this is the last major of the year, right?
Last major before the BMW, or sorry,
before the
FedEx Cup. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So he could go over, which I don't know if any of the greats ever went over for a year.
During their peak. Yeah, during their peak run, they usually got at least 1 or 2. So that's what's going to be interesting to see. Because, I mean, he's chasing not only Tiger, but also Nicklaus, down the road. Because he's got a fairly long career still ahead, in my opinion. So we'll see where it comes.
I wonder if he's going.
Or he calls it quits early. Who knows?
This is just me predicting this, but something tells me, based on what I was saying earlier, that he had said that maybe Scheffler isn't the guy who wants to play for 20 years and play on the senior tour. Maybe he likes having that, and when he starts to falter,
he'll walk away. Yeah.
Maybe he does the David Duval and stops playing.
Yeah, that's true. That could happen. On the other hand, you'll get guys like Mickelson who wants to, still, carry out one business on one side and then try to play golf on the other. Interesting character and an interesting demise of a legendary golf figure, to say the least.
Legendary, but honestly, I'm a lefty. I never liked Phil.
I didn't like him.
I appreciated his game and his wizardry with the short game and hitting balls over his head from the bunker. All of that. Give him all the credit. I just never liked his personality. Never liked who he was as a person, so I never really liked him. I'd rather have a Butch Harmon or Mike Weir or any other lefty besides not him.
Mike Weir was one of my big favorites. I mean, from a personal front, one of my favorite golfers of all time, Freddie Couples.
I love Freddie Couples.
Pure class on a course. I mean, it was just cool.
Yes, totally agree. And talk about somebody who's well into his 50s and 60s and bombing him out there like he's 25.
Yeah.
He still hits that, and he has this sort of carefree-go-lucky. I've always liked Freddie Couples. Agreed.
Yep. So no, good golf ahead for the weekend for sure. And then of course World Cup on Friday or World Cup on Sunday for the final game. The third place game honestly could be pretty entertaining between France and England at that point.
If they show up for it,
they show up. Yeah.
How does that feel? Don't get me wrong. I'm a competitor. I want to win everything that I do. So third place, first place, I'm still want to win. But talk about a letdown.
See, that's what. I'm kind of torn against even having a third place game. It's like the motivation's never there for these countries. At the same time, for the last 4.5 weeks, we've been privy to watching basically country versus country in this cool, global format where you're almost playing for bragging rights with other countries, right? And then all of a sudden you get two border war people, France and England. And you would think there's some bragging rights and some showmanship, and obviously the star power on the field potentially between
sure.
All the star players there. you would think they'd want to play all out, have a good time with it. And I get they're not getting the top trophy, but to say you finished third in the World Cup's not bad. It's pretty
No,
good
it's not
standing.
horrible.
So
No, definitely not horrible, but that's not what
everybody
they're
shows
playing
up and
for.
makes it entertaining, at that point. But we'll see. Obviously, they don't get to play in the showcase game, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is let the players play.
Yeah.
Be consistent in your calls.
Yep.
And don't let the referee or VAR be the deciding factor of the soccer game. I want to see, the beautiful sport be beautiful because they're playing the sport on the pitch and they're playing their hearts out and they're determining the outcome, not something else.
Not something else. Exactly. So no, like I said, there's something to be said there. The other thing that's obviously going on, we had the MLB All-Star game this past week, or past couple of days, I should say. Yeah, it was interesting to see the AL shut out the NL, for one thing.
Shocking. When was the last time that happened and it was a shutout?
Yep.
That was really surprising to see that. Kudos to the pitching staff of the American League.
Yep.
I saw a White Sox player hit a home run. So yeah, it was very interesting to see that because
could we see the White Sox in the playoffs?
Well, we have that thing with us, right? If Kansas City and the Bears are able to make the Super Bowl, I don't care if it costs me $20,000, we're going, right? White Sox, Cubs. The White Sox, who have been perennial, losers the last few years with 100+ losses, they started this season off in the same fashion, and then something turned around, and now they're leading their division.
I feel like it's a remake of like Major League all of a sudden. Like somehow ownership pissed them off enough to say, "Hey, we're going to be cheap." Well, guess what? We're going to go win and piss off everybody. You're talking about moving us to Nashville? Oh, well, we're going to start playing all of a sudden.
Right. I mean, and Reinsdorf is one of the worst owners ever, and he's not really doing anything to help the team. Right. They're helping themselves, and I tip my hat off to them. I'm a Cubs fan. My wife's a White Sox fan. Usually, people in Chicago have this rivalry. I used to be the biggest fan of Chicago baseball, White Sox or Cubs, until I think it was 1994, something around that time, when Jerry Reinsdorf and the owners, but Jerry Reinsdorf was leading the charge, sort of forced this lockout kind of thing. And they said the players were making too much money. And then the White Sox came as soon as it was over, and they had the best team in baseball that year by far. Yep. And they went and got Albert Bell.
Albert Bell, that's what screwed it up. You had
Konerko, you had all those guys
back then. You had Konerko, McDowell. You had a hell of a lineup.
Ventura, Thomas. You had a squad. You had pitching.
Yep.
Was it Blackjack was pitching? You had a squad.
Blackjack McDowell, baby. Yep.
And you decided to put a cancer right in the middle of it.
Big time. Big time. The worst cancer possible at that time. Yep, absolutely.
And again, for those, I don't want to use the word cancer.
Not lightly.
I've got friends who are fighting cancer right now, so I know what it's all about. But you know what I mean? I was using it in the context
a virus into a
someone who, exactly, a virus that would spread to bring down the ability of the team and the team concept. And Albert Bell was exactly that.
Yeah. So no, it ruined that franchise for a long time until they got lucky again in 2005 or whatever it was.
Yeah. How about the home run derby?
I thought that was awesome. I mean, I'm a Cardinal fan, so I love seeing my boy Walker do this thing. At the same time, I thought it was cool because of the atmosphere and the way that they changed the format and all that stuff, so it made it a little bit more interesting. It was great that Schwarber made it to the final as the hometown favorite.
Hometown guy, former Cub.
And the villain came through, obviously, with Jordan Walker, and I loved it for that kid, honestly.
Well, and they were booing him the whole time while he was doing
it. When you close out that way.
What was it? Like he had to hit 11 home runs in a row or something crazy, 7, 11, whatever it was. And he did it. Kudos to you, baby. And honestly, that to me, we've talked about this. The All-Star games in all sports have sort of lost their luster. And this was a bright spot because of all of the things that they do, whether it's Major League or whatever. I've always liked the home run derby. Always liked the home run derby.
I always liked it as a good exhibition of class because that's where the NBA's ruined the slam dunk contest. They've ruined the 3-point contest. But MLB, that homer, like I like the new format and everything. It brought back a sense of, hey, baseball still exists to me this week, honestly. And now I'm back into it, paying attention to the standings and stuff. And frankly, the timing worked out really well for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not back into it yet. It's just a July. So we still have the month of July, the month of August. Once September hits, then things get interesting because you've sort of weeded out. I please, Major League Baseball. I know, it's a purist kind of sport. Right. I know it has a lot of the old ways still within baseball, the mentality, everything else. But please, 162 games is too much.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any value for months.
Honestly, cut it to 120 and you're better off, in my opinion.
Yeah. Plus, you're playing games in April in Chicago. We're still wearing winter coats in Chicago, and you're trying to play baseball.
Well, think about it. You're bookending the season with snow. Seriously.
Yes, in September, October, as well as in April, May.
The World Series in snowflakes half the time, I feel like.
Yes. So can we do something about that? Doesn't it make more sense for you to truncate the season, cut some of those games off, maybe change it to where you're only playing, if you're going to play in April, you're only playing home games in warm states where it's going to be warm.
I say move it to
rain.
I say move it to May 1st through September 30th. And let me rephrase that. You start with May 1st through middle September. That way you start the playoffs at least a couple of weeks before snow season starts in November for the World Series, because that's your biggest problem right now.
Well, and maybe even cut it down to August, and September is your playoff month and your World Series, because I don't care which part of the continent you're on or the nation you're on, it's still pretty decent in September. And baseball is a sport to be played in the warmth, not 50 degrees, not 40 degrees, not 30 degrees.
Exactly.
That's not what baseball's about.
Yep. So no, that it would be better that way. That said, I mean, like you just said, baseball's still another couple months before true relevance. But guess what? We're already on preseason football here in 2 weeks. That's the other scary part. And obviously, we've seen all the offseason moves and all the craziness. Yesterday, the ESPYs, and they had Myles Garrett there, and I'm like, oh, here's a Ram. Oh, geez.
I like Myles Garrett even more.
I like the guy. Yeah,
I liked him. I always liked him.
Yeah.
He stayed with Cleveland, which many players don't do. He stayed there for the money. He's got a cool girlfriend who's a snowboarder.
That's awesome.
Team. Yeah. And now he moved to LA.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of this. There are a lot of players that never got to drink from the cup, if you will. Not the Stanley Cup, but the cup of winning, the championship cup. Jordan killed everybody during his era. So many players that I thought were great players never got a chance to accomplish that.
Yep.
So to have a player be able to find a way, and not the LeBron way, the other way.
Yep.
I actually like that, and I would love to see him win a title, because I think that he's worked hard on the worst team in football, or one of the worst teams in football, and deserves that.
See, I mean, go back to basketball. AI, I felt deserved a
great player who never got a chance to win.
That man carried
one chance.
He carried people to the finals by himself in his stature. I mean, it was just cool to watch. Had Jordan not retired, do you think Hakeem Olajuwon gets his rings?
No.
See?
No,
that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
well, and that was the saddest part. Jordan retired, and there were people like the Karl Malones and the Patrick Ewings and the Charles Barkleys that still didn't win their championships.
You're right. And that's what's scary. I mean, does Sean Kemp deserve one? No, but
no. Don't give him a championship. He might have 5 more kids behind him.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, I like what's happening in football, where guys are moving around to places where they have opportunity. Matt Stafford's the hero of all of this, in my opinion. That man, I mean, he's been a class from high school to college to pros. The fact that he had to grunt it out in Detroit, carried that franchise for a long time, had a star power in freaking, Megatron, and still, didn't get the help from his front office. He finally got his chance and, got him a ring. And I'm all for that at the end of the day.
I am too.
Yeah,
I am too. I love his commercial where he talks about that too.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. I mean, he from Georgia, when he was at Georgia, he was a great player. Went to Detroit. And he made Detroit relevant, but they just couldn't win.
You give me Barry Sanders with one opportunity somewhere, and I'm seriously.
I mean, you got to have support from the front office, which is why I hate Reinsdorf, because he doesn't do that in the other 2 sports that he owns teams. And to see football, to see Matt Stafford be able to realize that and to do it.
Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis doesn't get his ring unless he gets the opportunity. I mean, there's so many out there. Yeah.
I mean, it's just so many players that never get that opportunity. So I'm all for that. And looking to where Myles Garrett went, I can't see how the Rams at least
Did you see who's working out?
prohibitive favorite to win the Super Bowl, and I can't see them not at least making the NFC Championship. Just on that, as long as there are no injuries, and if Aaron Donald comes back.
Well, did you see the video? Did you see the video? Somebody was taking a little footage over at Rams pre-camp. Guess who showed up and worked out?
It was Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald. He's a bad man.
Imagine the bookends of Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett, two of the best pass rushers of all time.
I feel for Sam Darnold. I feel for whoever wants to play quarterback with the Cardinals. I don't care who it is.
It doesn't matter. And the 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers, yeah.
Purdy, you're not going to look too Purdy after they hit you a few times. Yeah, you aren't going to be Purdy.
Those teams better get a front line like you wouldn't believe to protect at this point, because that's going to be one scary, scary thing to look at every week for a couple of weeks.
Well, and you know what's incredible about Myles Garrett's career and what I'm expecting to see in LA? He played on Cleveland. Think about how many sacks he got on a team that is usually behind by so many points that the team isn't even passing that much.
23 with no support. Think about that for a second. And this guy's a physical freak. I mean, if you saw him even yesterday dressed up, the guy's literally a square block walking around.
Yeah. You know, you got to love that. And again, if he's playing on a team where they're always losing, you don't expect him to get that many sacks, but he still got that many sacks. So now he's going to a team that the expectation is they have one of the best, if not the best offense last year in the NFL.
Yep.
Now he could just put it back, baby. Yeah. For you, because you're down 15, 20 points already. You got to pass the ball.
This guy's fairly young. Think of how scary that's going to be. The fact that he probably had to play like half a game on defense, right? In terms of time, when he was with the Browns. Now he's maybe half that, maybe a quarter of the game where he can just go all out and start blitzing you. I mean, oh my God. If there was a way to fantasy draft him for football on the defensive end for sacks,
right? For points, that would be awesome.
He might be a number one pick. He might be a first-round pick, honestly.
Well, and obviously now the Rams defense has gotten that much better, even though they did lose their great
the secondary. They bought out the secondary from everybody else.
Exactly. So think about that. That's probably going to be your number one defense. Now, I don't know about the people who I've seen it in fantasy drafts where all of a sudden defense are being picked up in the fifth round or something. That's sort of ridiculous. Yeah. But they'll be the first defense taken off.
They'll be up there. I mean, first off, I'll give credit where it's due. Stan Kroenke, you were known as a bad guy in St. Louis. You still are a bad guy in St. Louis for having moved the Rams. But now that you're willing to spend the money and go after the rings and do the right things, I think in LA kind of gives a little credence to what his game plan was as an owner. So I'll give it that. He obviously bought the stadium, built the team, put the resources in, got a great coach, got great management, bought the players. I don't even care about the money, obviously, because he's Walmart heir. But at the end of the day, kudos to an owner that's going after championships. You know what I mean? Not just trying to lose things.
And too many owners aren't looking at, if you're owning a franchise, I don't care what the sport is, even if it's a smaller market team, you should be there to win. And you should have enough money and have a diversified portfolio to where it shouldn't be that you're doing the McCaskey way, where you're trying to suck every penny out of a freaking franchise and you don't care if you win.
Did you
hear
about
the way they should ban all people who own teams who go about their business in that manner, because then they're robbing the fans of all of the money and effort and time and emotion that we put into supporting a team is just for naught, because the owners don't care to win, but you as a fan want to win.
Did you hear about the cool reverse Uno thing that's happening with the Mavericks down in Dallas? So Mark Cuban was obviously a primary owner at one point of the Mavericks. He sold off his shares and sold them to Sheldon Allison and that whole family, and when they had their own interest. Now that the state of Texas basically is not going to grant any type of casino rights to the Sheldon, to the Sands family, there's been talk, and I think it's actually escalating pretty quickly now, where Cuban has gathered a group of 10 investors to buy back the Mavericks from the Sands family at the majority stake for about a quarter of the value that he sold it for, which is kind of the fun part there.
Wow, really?
All in kind of a two-part move. One, obviously it's a financial move. It's smart on him. Two, he was just so pissed off at what happened after he sold the franchise with them getting rid of Luka and everything else and all that mess, where he wants to rekindle that spirit again as an owner and be that guy. And
Thank you, Mark.
I love it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Because you're right. And I think it's it's almost impossible in my mind to grasp the concept of you sold a team, what, 6 years ago, or whatever that number was, for X,
Yep.
and you're able to buy back the team for less than what you sold it for.
Well, because the like I said, it was a purely, I wouldn't call it political move, but whatever you want to call it. The Sands family wanted to move in, get a franchise established, build a
so they could get the
casino rights from the state of Texas, and obviously monopoly.
Yeah,
so
but see, I thought, yeah, but isn't that supposed to? Wasn't there a conspiracy out there with the whole Luca thing that somehow was going to come back to help them get casino? So you're saying Texas has now shut that down?
Texas legislature is not willing to support it, at least in Dallas, and there's two reasons for that. One, all their current casinos are all on tribal property in the state. And there's a big interest there, and obviously self-preservation of that right, obviously, for that demographic, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever you want to look at it. So they're not going to allow Dallas to become the epicenter, which it already is in terms of business in this country, which is kind of unfortunate. But to have the entire power grab basically be in the state of Texas in Dallas and have an entire center, casino, the whole 9 yards built out in downtown Dallas, it would be a huge economic boom for whoever the owner is, which is the Sheldon Adelson family. The state gets benefits, obviously, in its own right, but then it takes away from all the other periphery of all the other casinos in the state. They've got Houston, Northern Texas, West Texas, all the other tribal lands, all that. So I'm sure there's a big, controversy there, and I get that. But also, if you allow gambling rights in the state of Texas in that manner, right now they don't have FanDuel and all this other crap there, mind you.
Yeah, they don't have any of that.
Yeah,
there's no gambling, right?
Yeah, so think about that. So I mean, it's an economic boom. Does the state of Texas need that money? No. That's the funny part. They don't need it. So they're not going to influence it in any fashion either. So there's some.
What is the state taxes, Texas again?
So state taxes actually are not bad. So you don't pay income tax.
Right.
You don't pay.
So what are they doing so well that? Look at Illinois. Illinois got one of the highest.
Oh, Illinois is broke. And
it's ridiculous.
We could have a separate conversation about states and being smart with money, because there's a lot of good and bad examples on both ends.
Sure.
Texas has slightly higher property tax, I will say, because I do a comparison with my brother who lives down there, and we know what we're paying dollar for dollar. But you also get more land down there, so you get what you pay for. Their sales tax is about 9%, which is still lower than Illinois.
Lower than Illinois. We're at what, 10.25% or something like that?
Illinois, dollar for dollar, you're actually paying more in property tax. So now this is not a big knock on Illinois, but let's face facts here.
And I'm showing my Chicago love here with all of this. But this is what we the taxes, they just putting their hands in our pocket when it comes to taxes.
Yeah, there's more corruption and dirtiness in Illinois than meets the eye, obviously. But what Texas does is it's got oil money, wind money. It's got money from all these other, avenues and resources in its state that it puts to use, obviously. Versus Illinois just seeps it dry and gives it to the 5, 10 aldermen that exist.
Yeah, right.
Whereas
we don't get the benefit of
the wealth kind of thing where their schools are able to build $100 million football fields in public school, So
priorities, right?
Yes. There are better things in other states and other places, but far be it for me to say they don't need the casino money. They don't want to drive influence. So you know what? That took away the Sands family interest at that point, the Sands casino interest. So they're willing to sell back. So it's gonna be kind of cool to see. I hope Cuban does get it. I hope he resurrects the franchise a bit, especially now you got Cooper Flagg for a discount.
I hope so too, because honestly, he was the best thing that happened with Dallas. And to a player, many of them loved him as an owner because he was actually a fan as well.
Yeah, so without him, Dirk doesn't get his title.
And I was going to say, Dirk Nowitzki got a chance to win a title. Dallas wasn't going to win. Who's going to win a title with Dallas? Heck, even when they had Mark Aguirre way back in the day, they weren't that good.
That's right. So. I love guys like Cuban. I love R.C. Buford with the Spurs, obviously. I mean, these are good owners at the end of the day. They're willing to put the money, time, and commitment in. So you would hope that continues. Supposedly the McNairs are trying to do that with the Texans. We'll see. It's going to take a while. You got to rebuild that whole organization.
Well, people thought that Steve Ballmer was going to be that for the Clippers, and
that's not
he's spending money, but he's not spending it in the right way.
Well, let's face facts. He made stupid moves.
Yes, that's the difference. That's the Clipper way.
He might have been smart with the Microsoft, but he was kind of dumb on the basketball front. Let's face facts.
Well, I think the thing that owners need to do, and this is where the McCaskies failed, the Chicago franchise, is let people who know about that sport manage it. Don't manage it from we had an accountant be our general manager.
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
You need a person who understands player personnel, who can manage that aspect of it, be able to evaluate talent in the proper manner.
Yep.
not some guy who's just sitting back. You can spend all the money you want, but if you're spending money in a way that isn't benefiting you, then you're just throwing bad money after bad money.
Well, and I'm going to make I'm going to make like an ist statement, not feminist, not racist, not discriminatory in any fashion. So the Seahawks just got bought this week for almost $10 billion. As you saw.
Yeah, I saw that. Wow.
It got bought by an Indian family. The guy used to be CEO of Sun Microsystems. I believe he still is CEO of Sun Microsystems. Obviously, a lot of tech wealth and whatnot. He was a minority owner in the 49ers for quite some time, sold off his shares, went to a majority share in Seattle. His wife is going to be president of operations for the Seahawks.
What? Good for, hey, you know what?
So I'm all for it, but she has no background in sports. No background. That part,
yeah.
So to our conversation, I don't want to make it sound derogatory, but I'm like, are you putting the right people in charge of the right franchises? I don't know. Maybe it should have been delegated to someone who's a little bit more sports worthy or a little bit more experience with the GM's office, that kind of thing. And maybe she's learning it. I'll give her credit. I'll give her a runway, but kind of makes me question some of these moves, like you say, in terms of who's managing what.
Well, and that is a problem. I'm trying to remember. I can't seem to bring it to mind right now. But there was it Detroit? Who's another lady owner in the NFL right now or managing a team?
Well, the Ford family owns the Lions, right?
Yeah, that's Detroit. But there was a lady last year that stood out, and some of the things.
Indianapolis. Yeah,
yes,
she's awesome.
That right there. Awesome. I give her all the credit in the world, and if that other lady can be in that manner, great. Not Georgia Franiari, not that kind of. I want you to be that kind of owner. The lady in Indianapolis.
Well, lady in Indianapolis is only 40 years old. The lady who's taken over in Seattle is almost 65. So we'll see how that works. Yeah.
But again, I think it should just be a rule.
Yeah.
If you want to own a franchise, you got to try to win. If you want to try to win, you need to hire people who are actually involved in the game itself and are knowledgeable, not people who are about money. Money does not make a sporting franchise. It's decisions made on talent evaluations, cohesiveness of people, those kind of things. That's what you should be doing. Again, why I hate Jerry Reinsdorf, because he spent money, ill-gotten money, spent the most money on a player that in the history of the game at that time, and it wasn't about trying to make the best team.
No,
stupid.
We'll pick back up on this leading into the NFL season because, like you said, there's a lot of moves made in the NFL this year, a lot of money moves because they had to stay under the cap in different fashions. Chiefs particular is a good one for us for the personal front to talk about because they still got to shore up that defense. I don't even know what secondary is at this point.
I don't either right now, but the biggest thing for them, though.
We drafted one, but the rest of it, I don't know.
But the biggest thing is, can Mahomes come back 100%?
Yeah. And that again is also a story to be told. I think he's ahead of the game from what I've heard on all the reports, but again, you don't rush these things, especially with a franchise quarterback. So we'll see where that one runs as well. And frankly, did we get something to shore up the meantime to buy him that time? Yeah, you got Kenneth Walker now. Use that,
That should be, that's better than what we had. And it's funny because just a couple of years ago, I felt like Kansas City had the right kind of running back committee, but it seemed to go down real quick.
Yeah, well, and now we're also back to Mr. Bieniemy back in charge and on the offensive coordinating side, which I think will be entertaining.
I think this. I like it. Remember when Eric was there, we were winning.
Good things.
We were winning.
Yep.
When Nagy took over, we were losing.
Was anywhere.
And he came to Chicago and brought his losing ways there, and then went back to Kansas City and brought his losing ways back.
Yeah. So no, I like the changes that we made, at least in the office and stuff like that. I hope the moves on the offensive side pay off. The defense is going to be the interesting question mark, especially now in a tough division. So we'll pick back up on that and also the money games and everything else. Eagles are the Eagles. They're obviously another, unbelievable franchise that's managed really well with Howie Roseman. So we'll see how. And the Bears are up and coming, my friend. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's nice to have optimism.
Yes.
But again, it's a tough conference.
Yeah.
And you got to play the game. So we'll see how everything lands. But if there are going to be some more moves, there are going to be some things that happen prior to the fantasy draft. I know a lot of people, including the two of us, are looking forward to that.
Yes, sir.
Outside of it signaling winter is coming. But I do think that we're going to see a lot happening on the NFL landscape. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this sort of translates to winning for the various teams.
Absolutely. Nope. On that note, we will pick back up after the Open and after the World Cup next week. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about from that front. And then obviously, like I said, we'll be a week and a half away from preseason football, which will be fun to watch in that own right, especially with games starting in the land down under.
That's going to be strange.
Yeah.
But are you ready for some football?
That's
I know
right.
I am.
That's right. In
And
the meantime,
don't get me
well.
wrong, soccer is global football,
Yes.
but the NFL is something special that's beyond all of the sports.
There's something there. Exactly. That's the reason it's expanding globally. That said, farewell. Stay safe this weekend. Have some fun and enjoy a lot of the sports. And like we've always said, get out to the bars, get out to restaurants, get out with people, enjoy the sports and the camaraderie. This is a good time of year to enjoy.
That's right. Live life while you're living. Get out and enjoy it, and make a positive influence in the environment that you're in.
Yep, absolutely. We will see you guys next week.
Peace out.